Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. Be very evil. And you'll have that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And I used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you, real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cells.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Luthez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the power.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
I'm just a sexy Greg. Sexy Greg. I'll break your fucking leg. Oh, hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Good Micro Commentaries. Back at you. Didn't see you there. I was just singing. Welcome to your Winged Eagle podcast for December 11th, 2021. Got a big batch of stuff to get into today. A lot of wrestling news, a little bit of wrestling results, a phenomenal debut of Hook last night on AEW Rampage. And a lot of chatter and just a lot of chit-chat about the rest of the year. We've got Winter is coming this coming Wednesday in AEW. We got Day 1 coming up on January 1st for WWE. Last night's SmackDown was not that bad of a show. Anything involving Brock Lesnar and Sami Zayn is going to get an A+ in my book. That was pretty interesting. We have condolences to issue out on the to the family of Jack Lanza, who passed away this week as well. We're going to follow up on Jeff Hardy's release. We're going to talk about Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly bouncing out of WWE, officially free agents and free to work wherever they want. and a big show coming up this Wednesday. Who knows? We will speculate there, talk about that, and discuss the really nice and touching tributes and farewell that NXT gave Johnny Gargano and, in a lot of ways, Kyle O'Reilly as well on Tuesday. Kyrie Sane is also a free agent. We want to offer our well wishes to Chris Jericho, who spent a little bit of time in the hospital over in the UK on tour with Fozzy. We're going to talk about Goldberg's upcoming contract. He's got one more match left. What will he do? What will WWE do? And who will succeed Vince McMahon? In addition to that, we might chat a little bit about this past Monday's Raw, which I did not watch, but it looks like Lashley is starting to muscle his way into that day one main event. We'll talk a little bit about Dynamite that we all watched together on Wednesday, and we will discuss last night's Rampage and SmackDown, and especially that glorious debut of Hook. That is kind of what's on the menu today. Probably going to be a 90-minute show here on this Saturday, and then I will be heading off to work. Want to let you guys know of some videos coming to the channel. We're going to be up here tomorrow night doing another classic pay-per-view watch-along. Tomorrow is the, 22-year anniversary of WWF Armageddon 1999. That was the big Vince McMahon Triple H match when Stephanie turned heel. And that was the beginning of, what pretty much we see today. So all of that began 22 years ago tomorrow. So we're going to watch Armageddon 1999 together. That's going to be a lot of fun. After that, I won't be up here again, I don't think, until Wednesday when we do a Winter is Coming review. Not a watch along this Wednesday for Dynamite. This is a pretty big show. It's got it's got Paige and Danielson and a few good matches on tap here. So I want to kind of enjoy this one, and we will just do a review of it on Wednesday night. And then we've got some more watch-alongs planned throughout the year, like Starrcade 1998 and Starrcade 1993. I've got a Slammy Awards review coming right before Christmas, and the big year-end video coming up on Thursday, December 30th. Big Q&A. So send your questions over to goodmikework@gmail.com. If you want to get a head start on that and get your questions saved for me to answer on the show. I'm also going to be answering every super chat, and most of the comments that come through in the chat that night. We'll open up some cold ones and hang out together, and depending how big the audience is, we'll determine how long we stick around. And then, of course, New Year's Eve, I will be at work dealing with all that, and then New Year's Day, we'll be up here reviewing day one immediately after the pay-per-view. And right now, it's shaping up to be a pretty big show because we got Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns on that show, and according to the internet, some sort of big finish is planned there to potentially set up the final blow-off at WrestleMania. A lot of fans are against that idea. I'm not. Perhaps we'll get into it later on. So that's what you have to deal with in the next couple of days in terms of videos. Also, if you want to hear my thoughts on Jeff Hardy's release from a couple of days ago, I released an exclusive mic drop on that. The link is in the description below, or you can check my channel. And also released and dropped a Vengeance 2001 review. 20th anniversary of that show was on Thursday. Actually, the same day that Jeff Hardy got released. That hit the channel. The link to that is also in the description below, so go check that out if you'd like to watch it, and hit it with a like and all that good stuff. So in terms of the videos and the upcoming stuff, that's all I really had to mention to you guys. Before I say hi to the chat, let me acknowledge and thank all of the current subscribers on the Patreon channel. I want to welcome and thank Kaylin Scott and Divine Ricks and JJ Legg, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, JSmooth99, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dogs Kennel, Divlin Husband, John Redifer, Ryan Y, Claudio Clavedetcher, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry in the house here, probably from Hawaii. Also, Josiah Blevins, Scott Moss, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, and Blake Moran. Dudes, as always, thank you so much for your support on the Patreon page. If you'd like to support the channel yourself, you can do so right in the description below. All the info to these links is hanging out down there. Let me say hi to the chat, knock out a couple super chats, and then we will start jumping into the news. And I think I want to open up with Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly, because that was some pretty interesting stuff this week. Nick Musser, good to see you, man. Glad you're here at work. Tatanani is here, Joshua Aparicio, Crush, and Zane G, and Nate. And we've got George Morris with a $5 drop early. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Cobra Kai Season 4 trailer was awesome. Terry Silver is aged. Did you see it? I just received WrestleMania, the anthology. Yes, I did see the Cobra Kai trailer. However, I have not dissected it and picked it apart. I think I only watched it once straight through, and that was it. So I didn't really analyze what exactly we're going to see. I did see Johnny and Daniel working together and also being at odds a little bit. Terry Silver definitely looked like he aged, but can still kick some ass. Looked like he was intimidating Daniel in a convenience store somewhere. We've got Robbie pretty much is the head of Cobra Kai now, where Miguel is leading the Inglefang Miyagi-Do bunch, and there's a prom or some sort of formal event, just kind of like last time they did some sort of a dance. So it's going to be a lot of crazy shit, and the tournament is going to be the big finale, I'm assuming. So I'm assuming the entire season leads up to the tournament, and we see who wins in the end. Should be interesting. I'm already ready for Season 5. But unfortunately for me, it comes out on the 31st, so it's going to be really tough for Elizabeth and I to be able to watch that on the day it comes out because there's so much shit going on, including being up here on New Year's Day for a pay-per-view review. So it might be like the 2nd or the 3rd even until I'm actually even able to knock all these episodes out. But we will see. I'm excited for it. No, Laura, good to see you. Jay Lambo and Ben and Mohammed and Barry is here. David Brown, good to see you, man. Got your booster done. Horrible pain last night, but feeling much better now. I don't know if you mean the pain where it goes in. That doesn't bother me so much as just the being sick part, but I need to get my booster done. I think I'm just going to wait till the end of the month when I don't have a lot going on. I don't want to get sick right now, just too much going on with work and holidays and, you guys and all that stuff. But in January, my schedule's light, so I will probably go ahead and get that done. Just in case I do get sick like I did for my second shot, I want to have my schedule cleared. But glad you're feeling better, David, and right on for being vaccinated. Crush and Nick, I got you already. Divine Ricks, I got you. Knox, How Wheezy is here. JL is here as well. Seba, Ryoun, thank you. Jose is in the house. And Spaz Phoenix with the $10 super chat with a cheap plug for his YouTube channel. Go check out Spaz Phoenix's channel. Good guy over there. Has always got good opinions and has been watching wrestling a long time. He's almost as old, wrinkly piece of shit as I am, but not quite. Got a new pod out. Guapo and I preview Winter is Coming, touched on the Jeff Hardy situation, Gargano O'Reilly possibilities, and even some controversial non-wrestling topics. Cheers all right? If you want to be offended, go head over to Spaz Phoenix's channel. And Spaz, thank you very much for 5 more. Also, for those interested, the show is available on YouTube, most podcast platforms, and now on Rumble. Good to know. Head over to Spaz's channel, hit his description there, and I'm sure you can find links to all that shit over there. Stephen Harris, it's nice to see you. And How Wheezy, thank you for the $2. Veer Mahan finally debuts as a dancing machine. I'm pretty sure he's walking from India because he's been coming to Raw for many, many weeks. It takes him a long time to come. I don't know what's going on. They keep running that stupid promo. I'm like, okay, you can just want to bring them now. It's like they did the same thing with Eva Marie. Remember, they just ran it. Like, Jesus, bring her in already. And Chris Miner, what's up, dude? Thank you for the 5 as well. Greg, remember, expect the unexpected. Going to remind you in 30 minutes. And whenever you finish talking about a story, remember, expect the unexpected. Vince was doing that shit all Monday night again, right? This past week with Austin Theory. This is the best he's got. Expect the unexpected. Just to repeat that. Like a madman? Oh, well, I'm glad I'm not watching Raw right now. A little mental break away from Monday Night Raw. I'm catching some highlights, reading the results, but I'm not watching it, not reviewing it. Fuck it. It's just mind-blown me how bad it's been, and I just had to take the rest of the year off. Maybe we'll pick it back up in January. So stay tuned if you want to resume the reviews on Mondays. But right now, we're chilling. Let's get into the news here. I think we got to open up with some big free agent news. Coming off of last Sunday's War Games, we knew this could be it for Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly in WWE. Both men's contract was coming up. Now, Gargano, in his case, he signed a short-term extension similar to what Adam Cole did this past summer in order to get him through the end of War Games, which I believe he gladly did. I think both sides have been, very happy with each other and professional with each other. There's no issues, no bad blood, nothing like that. But Gargano, I think, had pretty much had his mind made up as long as a year ago, possibly, what he was going to do. And he wanted to, this is what I love about wrestling now, is that he wanted to test free agency. 4 years ago, this really wasn't an option unless you wanted to go Japan or, start to work on, the flourishing indies or whatnot. But in terms of really going somewhere and being offered some similar money for similar exposure, that type of thing. Now we have a competitor. So when wrestlers' contracts are up, it's not a matter of just, we're just going to get them to resign. Now they've got options. Even if they're going to come back to the company, even if they fully intend to re-sign with WWE, they should opt out, or they should not re-sign and allow themselves to at least be free agents for a couple of days just to see what they can get, just to leverage themselves, which could, turn around to bite you in the ass too, because we have seen WWE show instances of buyer's remorse where they pay somebody a big contract, then they change their mind. I mean, if they did it to Bret Hart, they'll do it to anybody. And even most recently with Braun Strowman, they felt like he wasn't worth the money they were paying him, even though they're bringing in record profits and stuff. So if you do leverage yourself to get a better deal, that's not a guarantee either, because then WWE can just be pissed at you, because we know WWE will fuck with you out of spite. They will make you lose or whatever. If they get a bug up their ass, or have some sort of an issue with you, they will deliberately go out and try to harm your career. Like, I truly believe that about them. So if they're resentful that a talent was able to get more money from them, it might affect how they're used on TV, because WWE are assholes. So, if I'm a free agent or my contract is coming up, I'm definitely letting it expire just so I can see what I can get and look at my options. And if my plan is to stay with WWE, I can do that. Pro athletes do the same thing. LeBron and all those guys, when their contracts are up, if they're going to stay with the team, they likely will, but they want to see what other deals they can get, type of thing. So Gargano's doing the right thing here, and I think any talent, AEW or WWE, when their contracts come up, they should at least explore what else is out there, because that's ultimately what's going to be best for you and your family. Now, we're going to talk about Gargano's speech on NXT here in a minute, but we do know Candice is due in February, and he talked a lot about that on Tuesday, that he's going to go begin the most difficult or his hardest job of his life, in February, and be a dad. AEW money and AEW schedule, is probably pretty attractive to Gargano. Now, NXT isn't exactly touring right now, so I don't think Gargano's really working live events or whatnot, but if he stuck around, you would think he's pretty much ran his course in NXT, and much like Adam Cole, they probably would want to move him to the main roster, which means he's going to have to be working those live events and traveling all over the place. It'll be much easier, I think, working for AEW in that schedule in terms of being a new dad and being at home. It's probably a much more favorable working environment for him to go there. Plus all the people he can work with and all the people he already knows and has history with and whatnot, he can do that. Or he can just hit the indies and just work at his own pace, do whatever he wants. Bottom line is, Gargano's a free agent. He's not coming back to WWE, at least right now, but I think the door has been left open for maybe him to return down the road, and that would be fine. Gargano was amazing in NXT. I was just thinking about that last night when I was making my notes. As a matter of fact, I sent Johnny Gargano a DM, and he responded to me this morning and thanked and exchanging a couple nice words with me, which was really surprising. I was just kind of looking at his speech and thinking about his NXT career and all the great matches he had on the black and gold brand with and against Tommaso Ciampa, the takeovers that he headlined. He truly was Johnny Wrestling and, one of the best in that entire brand. And I was just thinking about what a sad end of an era it is. How WWE back in 2015 through 2018 or whatever it was, I think fans universally agreed for the most part that WWE had the best professional wrestling in the world on that black and gold brand there for a couple of years. And it amazes me that WWE voluntarily gave that up in favor of scouting and developing talent via intergender diva searches. I mean, which is pretty much what they want to do now. They want to find people who look good and are athletic, stick them in a ring, and teach them to work. And, not that philosophy can't create a star or two, it definitely can. Holy shit, are you really changing up your philosophy now to where all these wrestlers have been working their asses off for years to be better professional wrestlers are now not even going to get a look, not even going to get looked at by WWE in favor of, what basically just is a casting call or a diva search for men and women. Oh, you're pretty, you're good looking, you look strong, you look big, throw you in the ring and do it. It's when Vince said they make movies, it's kind of starting to look like they are. My God. So it just amazes me that they had that level of respect from the pure wrestling fans and the people who just like to watch a good 25 to 30 minute battle between two studs for a world title. And they just voluntarily abandoned that on purpose, to turn it into what we see now and basically allow AEW, to have that audience and to go after those type of wrestlers and that type of viewer. And to me, that's just strange because, NXT, I didn't think anything was really wrong with it until AEW came around and WWE overreacted. They panicked and they started moving shit around. And because of that, they sacrificed NXT and all of Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and all the trainers and, coaches there. All of their hard work and all this great talent is starting to say, no longer is this the place to be, which goes to show you how quickly this stuff can change. Right now, AEW is a very, very attractive place for everybody to go to work, but it's very possible that in 5 to 10 years' time, things could change and it might not be that attractive anymore, just like it goes up and down with WWE. You never know. But, in terms of what Gargano did there and O'Reilly and Adam Cole and so many guys now that are gone, Aleister Black and everybody, how great that brand was and how it just pretty much doesn't even exist anymore. Not that the 2.0 crew aren't impressive. I thought the way they handled themselves at War Games in the men's and the women's match was fantastic. So the 2.0 crew has got some potential. They got a lot of good talent there, but in turn, it's still very, very different than what it was. And it has a completely different, feel now. And it's sad, and that's what I was thinking about last night, thinking about Gargano. I'm like, man, what a sad time. I was at one of those takeovers, War Games in 2018, and I'm pretty sure it was Gargano and Aleister Black for the title. And that was a phenomenal match, and I got a close-up view of that stuff. And just thinking of how over that shit was, how packed the Staples Center was that night, just to see NXT. Now they're in front of 75 people. It's just fucking weird. But anyway, Johnny Gargano, end of story, is a free agent now, and he pretty much confirmed that by reopening his Pro Wrestling Tees store. I actually bought a t-shirt from there yesterday, and I just gave it away because it's for my girlfriend, and she's probably listening. So, honey, I got you a Gargano shirt for Christmas. And he also launched a Twitch channel. So that right there tells you that he's no longer in WWE because those weren't things he was able to do. And literally the day after his contract was up, Twitch is up and his Pro Wrestling Tees store is up. And it's just so nice it's got to feel so incredibly good for him to not have Vince McMahon's fangs into him. You know what I mean? And just be like, you know what? I can do whatever the hell I want. This feels pretty fucking great. And I would imagine there's a lot of wrestlers that have that feeling of euphoria when they finally get out from underneath those monsters in WWE. It's got to feel so good that he can actually do things that an independent contractor should legally be able to do, like have a Twitch channel and like sell fucking t-shirts on the internet. But not when you work for WWE. So best of luck to Johnny Gargano, whatever your future holds. Obviously, I would love to see him in AEW because there's just endless possibilities of guys he can work with and guys he already has history with. But at the same time, he's Johnny Wrestling. Who's to say he can't bounce around a little bit? If he's about to have a baby, he might want to put off knowing that he can probably get a contract with AEW anytime he wants. Maybe he just wants to wait until next summer, take a few months off, work some indie events, maybe go do a shot in Japan or something or whatever, allow his child to be born, spend a few months at home with that child and, get all that together. And then when he's ready to just go balls to the wall back in the business, he can dive in head first and it won't even take that long. He could do it this year. He's got, he can do whatever he wants. I don't need to see Johnny Gargano on Wednesday. It would be awesome, I'm not going to lie, to see Johnny Gargano show up at Winter is Coming, but I can wait. Whatever's good for him, whatever's best for him, Candace, his family, all that stuff is what I want him to do. And hell, I'd be equally as excited to see Kyle O'Reilly show up on Winter is Coming, put 3 out of the 4 Undisputed Era members now in AEW. It would be pretty fucking crazy. Maybe Roderick Strong should do something to get released over there or something like that. But, Gargano and O'Reilly both, we want to wish him well. Now, Kyle O'Reilly is also gone. This was pretty much reported by Mike Johnson of PW Insider. I haven't seen any confirmation from Kyle O'Reilly himself, but word has been that his contract was up and they wouldn't have done that big send-off on NXT on Tuesday if that wasn't the case. So he is also a free agent, no non-compete for either of these guys. So we could see O'Reilly and Gargano both show up on Wednesday. We could see neither one of them show up on Wednesday, or we could see one of the two. Who knows? It could go either way. Either way, I'm just excited for what they do. And like I said, their courses were ran in NXT. They pretty much did all they can do there. So from there, it's either that or the main roster. And we all know what happens to NXT talent when they get to the main roster, especially people like that. And I think O'Reilly and Gargano are much better off taking their chances elsewhere than putting their careers in the hands of 36 people who have never even seen them work a match before. So best of luck to both of them. We're going to talk about them more in a minute when we talk about NXT. Speaking of free agents, Kyrie Sane is also reportedly now a free agent. She has removed WWE references from her Twitter, and she can work anywhere. Now, apparently, the likelihood of her going to AEW is not very high. I believe the reason she left WWE to begin with was because she didn't want to be over here and work over here. She'd rather be home in Japan. So now that she is free of WWE, whatever she does, I would expect it's probably going to be something over there unless AEW convinces her to do like a one-shot deal or something, but not really too worried about Kyrie Sane popping up in All Elite Wrestling. I'm more interested in O'Reilly and Gargano. But best of luck to Kyrie Sane. Looked like WWE really hung on to her for a long time after I believe she asked for her release. And, they kept with her for a long time until now she's finally free and clear. So best of luck to Kyrie Sane as well. She was awesome. Can't believe how badly they fucked her up. Where is Asuka, by the way? You know what I mean? Is it just me or does it smell like up dog in here? I'm just reading some of these comments real quick. Making sure all is good. Anywho, smash that thumbs up button for me too, if you don't mind, as we're going through here. I would definitely appreciate it. And let's see what else is on tap for the news here in my notes. Oh yeah, so Chris Jericho was reportedly hospitalized the other day with a non-COVID related issue while on tour with Fozzy. I believe they're over in the UK. The show on December 10th and 11th in Wales and Nottingham, respectively, were both canceled. But Jericho posted a picture today saying he's back on the streets of London, which apparently is the final stop on Fozzy's tour, I think tomorrow. So apparently Jericho's good to go. Don't know what the issue is. Glad he's back on his feet. And I guess he's going to be rocking out tomorrow in London unless they have canceled the show and I'm not aware of it. So glad to hear that Jericho is going to be okay. Dave Meltzer in The Observer was kind of reporting on Goldberg's deal. Now, Goldberg's deal is up pretty soon, but he's also has one match left on it. So I don't know how his contract works. If it works like we got you under a 3-match contract, which means your contract is up the day of your last match or the day after your final match, or if it ends on a specific date and you just got to do the matches within those dates. I don't know. But we know contractually Goldberg does have one match left, I think either this year or on his contract. I think on his contract. So when that happens, whenever that happens, last time we saw him, he was beating Bobby Lashley at Crown Jewel. We're going to have to see him again. Does WWE sign him again for another 3 or 4 match deal? They probably will. And it's just like, God, is this shit ever going to end? So we're coming close here to Goldberg's contract coming up. And I would just love it if he could just do one match here where he would just put somebody over and go the fuck away. But I still don't think we've seen the last of his son, unless, of course, Hook gets his hands on Goldberg's son. Then Goldberg's son, Gage, is fucked, and he's going to get hooked and hooked hard. But unless Hook intervenes and beats that little prick's ass, I don't know. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Goldberg again, which blows. So anyway, Goldberg's probably coming back. Yippee. But if it was up to me, do another one with Lashley. Apparently he made some big statement on Monday night, and he's probably going to find his way into that day one main event. You know, if you put him on a tear here and Goldberg could maybe put Lashley over on his way out or something, why not? Unless they do Goldberg and Brock again, I don't know, but it's just one more match is too many. And if they sign him again for another 3 or 4, that means we have 5 more Goldberg matches in our future. Guys, I don't think I can handle it. I'm going to move into the woods and and build a tiny house just with the lumber around me and the trees and just sleep in the dirt. I can't with Goldberg. Anyway, Goldberg's probably coming back. Yippee. We should talk a little bit about Cory Graves this week. Cory Graves has this hilarious ability just to bury himself on Twitter all the time. So he responded to a tweet this week from Alyssa Marino, who I do believe passed through for like an hour and a half in NXT. And she was basically tweeting about about announced teams commenting on physical appearances of the competitors, specifically women, saying that the announcers take away from the match when they can't shut the fuck up about how somebody looks or whatnot. This did not tag Cory Graves. This did not mention Cory Graves. According to Alyssa, it had nothing to do with Cory Graves. It had to do with independent wrestling announcers. They have a habit of doing this. Now, I wasn't aware of that. I don't watch a ton of independent wrestling, so I didn't know that this was an issue, that all independent announced teams somehow are acting like Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross in 1998 or 2000 or whatever. But apparently that is a problem. Now, Cory Graves decided to respond to this tweet that he wasn't tagged in, I guess taking offense to it because of how crazy he goes over Carmella on Raw. But I don't really even truly have a problem with that because they are engaged and they have mentioned it on TV before, and Carmella's gimmick is to be the most beautiful person in the world. So obviously as an announcer, you have to sell that. So I don't think it was really directed at him. But yet he decided to respond to that and mansplain to this girl the differences between a character on TV and a person, and that she should find a different form of entertainment. Oh, that sounds like not a condescending fucking thing to say. Jesus Christ, Cory. And then responded to another guy, who said something like, why are you telling her to get out of the business? What the fuck? That's not even what she meant. And then of course, Cory barks back and he's mad about woke bullshit and virtue signaling and all this stuff. I'm like, ugh, this guy ever shut the fuck up? So in terms of what Alyssa was saying, I don't even totally really agree with her. The only thing I really disagree with here is Cory Graves butting himself into something that had nothing to do with him. If he just would have shut the fuck up, he wouldn't have got any goddamn heat. What is with this guy of just having to go out there and constantly be loud on social media? Jesus Christ, man. So what Alyssa was saying here, and like I said, I don't know what goes on in the indies. I haven't heard any comments on the indies, but when it comes to physical appearances, that is something not only back in the day but is currently done with the men. Back in the day, remember Vince? Oh, this guy, he's really put together. Right? And Vince would constantly comment about how good people looked. And some wrestlers' gimmicks are to be that. Lex Luger, Chris Masters, some guys, their gimmick is to say, hey, look at me, look at me. And wrestlers are in good shape. And back in the day, when you would call serious wrestling matches with Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart or anybody, you would always hear the announce team talk about what great shape these guys are in based on how they're moving around and all that stuff. And if you're a muscle guy, a lot of the times the announcers are putting over, how fucking jacked you are. Now, if you're talking back in the Attitude Era, you listen to Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler call an episode of Monday Night Raw in 2000 or 2001. It's unlistenable. It blows my mind because I do reviews for these shows all the time here on the channel. And just even now, it was nothing to me back then because it was so common. But man, it's tough to listen to. And it has not aged well at all to listen to these two motherfuckers drooling shamelessly over these women on TV. It's kind of funny and cringy all at the same time. But at the time, it was totally normal and accepted. So I think now, in terms of the commentary teams, at least on Monday Night Raw, this is not a huge problem. If Cory Graves wants to go nuts over Carmella, at least it ain't Jerry Lawler going nuts for puppies, in 1999. And Cory used to be pretty graphic in his comments about Mandy Rose as well. But again, Mandy Rose kind of had one of those, hey, look at me type of gimmicks. So in terms of what Cory is doing on Raw right now as it pertains to Carmella, I personally don't have a problem with it. And I don't really think Alyssa Marino did either. Cory Graves just decided to make this about him when it had nothing to do with him. I don't have any issue with Cory Graves as a commentator. I think he just comes off as just a monumental douchebag, but I don't dislike him. I think guys like that are needed on announced teams. I think he's a great color guy, one of the best in modern times. We have compared him and used his name in the same sentence as Jesse Ventura, like a modern day Jesse Ventura, maybe just a little less douchey. Or more douchey, excuse me. So Cory just making this thing about him, I thought was kind of funny because I'm like, I don't think anybody really has a problem with the way you talk about Carmella. It's kind of part of her shtick. And if you're going out there and drooling over every girl that comes out, then that's one thing. But the way Cory reacts to Carmella, to me, isn't even that big a deal, especially when you think about the way things used to be. And even Jim Ross now, he's made a couple of comments by accident on AEW, forgetting what time period he's in. I remember that one comment he made about Anna Jay, when she almost had a wardrobe malfunction, and he said he wouldn't be disappointed about that, and people gave him shit because he just forgot it wasn't 2000. We can give Jim Ross a break for that shit. He's an old man, and he's horny. So, like, if he kind of forgets that it's not 20 years ago anymore, he can get a pass, you know. But in terms of whatever the hell is going on with the announced teams on the independent level, and if this is truly a problem, dudes, I guess get it together. So I don't really have a dog in this fight on Alyssa's side or Cory Graves' side. I just think that Cory's an idiot for responding to this when he should just shut the fuck up, man. Anyway, if you read that, that was pretty fun this week. I love stuff like that. It's always so much fun. Also, speaking of Meltzer, we talked about him a minute ago. He was discussing, in the latest Observer, I guess, about Vince McMahon's succession. Now, there's been a lot of talk over the years. We've talked about it here on the channel. When Vince McMahon goes away, whatever that is, passes away, you know, can't do the job anymore, whatever, who the fuck is in charge? Now, we were always under the impression back in the day that it was going to be Stephanie and Triple H taking over. Things got a little different as the years went on, and Triple H took over NXT. Shane McMahon came back into the fold. Vince McMahon is getting older. They're bringing more executives. They got this big board of directors, and all of a sudden, things are getting a little bit different to where it appears that when Vince passes away, there isn't going to be another Vince. There's going to be a team handling the business end, a team handling, you know, the creative end, probably heads of all these teams type of thing. Triple H and Stephanie and probably Bruce Pritchard will all have a role here. But what Meltzer suggested, and it sounded more like speculation to me, but he kind of thinks that it would likely be Nick Khan, which would be some shit if we got two Khans running the two big wrestling companies in the U.S. It's like, are you a Nick or Tony guy? It's just going to be fun, I think, if that does happen. But Nick Khan has not been making a lot of friends. He did that one interview where people felt like, okay, he's a smart dude and can probably make some good business deals here. But this guy, does he know what the fuck he's talking about in terms of a wrestling creative booking sense? You mean it's going to be Nick Khan and Kevin Dunn calling the shots here? Fucking kill me, man. So I hope that's not the case. I actually hope that when the day comes and Vince has passed on or whatever, and he's got his shares to be divvied up, and who's going to be, you know, the controlling owner of the company. I'm assuming it's going to be Linda, unless she's gone too. And then however his, you know, shares of the company are divided amongst his children, Shane and Stephanie, or his grandkids, or even Triple H, or however all that works, that'll probably paint a little bit clearer of a picture of who really is going to be in charge. But, you know, part of me wonders at this point of having, back in the day, back in the Attitude Era, having one Vince seemed like it was a good idea. WWE and, you know, a lot of fans too thought that part of WCW's downfall was the fact that they didn't have a Vince. The fact that they didn't have one guy there in charge to say yes or no or make sure that shit gets done the way he wants done. And instead, it was a lot more politicking. Not that that didn't happen in WWE too, but in WCW, it was very easy to convince and bend Eric Bischoff's ear, and, you know, certain guys would, you know, get preferential treatment and things like that. That wasn't as prominent in WWE. It was a little bit with guys like Shawn and Hogan and others, but you had that Vince McMahon there to make the final decision. Now today, you know, having Vince there is just to have a crazy old man there tearing up scripts 5 minutes before you go live. But back in the day, it was actually a pretty useful tool. So now we've seen, as Vince has deteriorated in age and being, you know, he was never really in touch with anything hip or cool or pop culture or anything like that, even when he was younger. Just look at him dance if you need any more proof. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when we talk about Slammy Awards 87. But you think about Vince now, how old he is and the stupid shit he's doing on TV with Austin Theory. And I'm like, you know, when he's gone, you know, having different departments handle specific things, it's kind of how they do it now, but without that one guy running around making crazy decisions is actually probably going to benefit the company a lot. Now, I think if Kevin Dunn and Bruce Pritchard remain in place, then, you know, not much is going to change from a creative end at all because they're both dumb. But all in all, I think not having Vince there is that loose cannon is going to be helpful and beneficial to the company. But we are entering a very weird time and era here. There's also been a lot of talk about WWE being sold off to Disney or something like that. And if that happens, that will be pretty crazy, especially for someone like me who, hell, it was still the WWF, I think, when I was born. So it's to see it go completely away and now be owned by a different entity and, just basically become the fucking Ice Capades is going to be a tough pill to swallow and maybe a bittersweet day. But I think that's where we're headed. So it remains to be seen, who exactly does run things when Vince is gone, but I guess we'll find out one day. Just interesting. I thought something fun to speculate here on the podcast today since I was running a little bit light on other fun shit to talk about. So thought we would mention that. Also want to talk a little bit about Jack Lanza. Rest in peace to Black Jack Lanza, who passed away this week. I believe he was 86. Now, he was a longtime agent and producer backstage. You can catch Jack on all the old 90s WWE shows. He's always out there doing shit. And a lot of people like Jack. Some didn't. I think Bret Hart was not a big fan of Jack in terms of him being an agent and stuff. But you talk about a guy with some stories. The dude is a legend. So much history with Bobby Heenan, too. Very, very young Bobby Heenan when he would wrestle sometimes, and he worked with Mulligan and Blackjack in AWA, and the Blackjacks, of course, were in WWF for a time as well. And he can't remember what year he went into the Hall of Fame, but I did enjoy his speech. I just remember that. I can't recall what year it was, but he always just has pretty funny stories. And Bobby Heenan, I've heard Heenan in a few interviews before he got sick, tell a few Jack Lanza stories, and they're always hilarious. Anytime Bobby's about to mention anything about Lanza, you're fucking cracking up. So he's an old timer. He's a legend. He's even almost a bit before my time, and I was just a little kid when he was like wrestling and shit, or just an infant basically. So all I know of Lanza, of what I've gone back and watched of the Blackjacks and a lot of Bobby Heenan's career, but true legend in the biz. He was one of those guys that was just kind of a mainstay in WWE with a lot of those, other ones like Gorilla and Arnold Skaaland and guys like that. So Lanza was always a presence, and he's he really is truly part of that early WWE family and stuff. So rest in peace and condolences to the family of Jack Lanza, big-time legend gone. And also just want to follow up a little bit on the Jeff Hardy release from this past Thursday. Now, I was able to release a quick mic drop on that, just an exclusive deal. I recorded it and threw it up on the channel. I've got the link to that in the description below if you want to hear my thoughts on Jeff from Thursday, where we spend about 15 minutes talking about Jeff, talking about the circumstances of what happened at that house show and him being sent home, reportedly refusing rehab, according to Fightful, and WWE letting him go. Since then, his wife has said that he's home and he's fine and all is good, and at least he's home safe and doing well for the time being. Now, we spent most of the time basically just offering our best to Jeff Hardy, talking about some of our fondest memories of his career and how we all just want him to get better and we all just want the absolute best for him. I don't give a shit, and I'm not concerned at all about him going to AEW. I do not care. To me, he needs to not be in wrestling at all until he is comfortable with getting back into it. And apparently these are still things and problems and demons that he deals with, and it's never really gone away, which we talked about on Thursday, that, when you're an addict, you really don't ever get over it. It's always something that's going to be a struggle and a challenge for you. And he was recently on Broken Skull Sessions with Steve Austin, and he said it right there in that interview that this was his last chance. He acknowledged that he could still slip up. He said, drugs are easy to stay away from, but alcohol is everywhere. He's on the road. He's on planes. He's in airports. He's just surrounded by alcohol everywhere he goes. He's been wrestling a long time. And because of his abuse of pain medicine and things like that, he probably can't take anything for the terrible aches and pains the guy must have in his body. If you used to be addicted to pain medicine, you can't ever take pain medicine again. So if you do have injuries that would, normally you would probably want to get prescribed something to help you with, but you can't take it, where else do you turn? I said the other night that maybe Jeff ate a bad edible. It's very possible. I had happened to me one time. You just eat one that's too strong and it kind of makes you a little loopy for a while, but you come off of it. But with Jeff, seems like it's a little bit more serious, likely alcohol related, but we don't know. And he turned down the rehab because he feels he didn't need it or whatever. And WWE just let him go. So one of the things that we omitted to discuss on Thursday when we talked about this, and it was a comment I noticed in the comments below of that video, is that some people, while they love Jeff, want the best for him, are getting a little bit fed up. And, and I understand that. I understand the notion of, you can't have sympathy for someone who doesn't want to help themselves type of thing. But Jeff, I think, has made a lot of progress, in his life in terms of being an addict and some of the rock bottom places he was at. If he's gotten to the point now where he's off everything except the occasional booze or the occasional bender, I'm not saying that's good, but hell, I guess it could be a lot worse. And this is all assuming this is alcohol. I'm pretty sure that it is, because if he, had any sort of drugs in his system, that could have been the reason for his release, but we didn't hear that. So I think it was just WWE wanting him to get help. Jon Moxley most recently kind of did the same thing, acknowledging that he's drinking a little bit too much and opted to go to an inpatient treatment center where Jeff Hardy feels that he can shake it without it. That's Jeff Hardy's prerogative, but how many times, it amazes me how many chances this guy is given. It amazes me how much the fans still love Jeff Hardy no matter how many mistakes he makes. And, for him to do something like he did at Victory Road, to me, that almost seems like it would be an unforgivable offense for a lot of wrestling fans, who pay money to watch a pay-per-view, and it's all for nothing because your main event, has got one guy that can't even fucking stand up, because he was too irresponsible to understand that thousands of people are watching you, paying money to see you, and you can't, stay off the somas long enough to go out there and work your fucking match. And fans, felt sorry for him. He was able to come back and big apology promo. Fans welcomed him back. They just wanted the best for Jeff. No hard feelings, that sort of thing. And no matter how many times he gets suspended or gets busted with drugs or DUI, which I believe he had like a year or two ago, WWE and the fans usually always welcome him back. But, at what point, are you going to be like, okay, dude, Jesus, man, you've already been the luckiest guy in the world to not only escape all these demons with your life, but also with your career intact and with the respect of the audience intact. He is marketable to men, women, children, and adults. Across the board, Jeff Hardy is appealing to the wrestling audience. That's a very unique thing to have. And for him to throw that away repeatedly, because of not being able to get a handle on your addiction is not only sad, but as a wrestling fan is a little bit frustrating. So I can understand, that sentiment from the fans, but I think also it's important to note that the only thing that's really important here is the well-being of Jeff Hardy. We can be mad at him all we want. I'd rather be mad at him than him be dead. So Jeff, we wish you the best, man. And, wherever your life takes you. But as we talked about on Thursday, we have likely seen our last Jeff Hardy match in WWE, and unless some miracle takes place. So anyway, that is pretty much all I've got for the news here before we get into some Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, Rampage, and SmackDown chatter here. I just want to cruise over to the chat, make sure everybody's good. I know I got at least a super chat up here I need to knock out. Where did it go? There we are. Nate, good to see you, man. Welcome back and appreciate that $2. Who should win the Royal Rumble 2022 matches? Men's and women's? God, I don't know yet. Right now with the women, I would love to see it be Liv Morgan. Based on what we saw on Monday, she had that title match with Becky Lynch and she fell short, and Becky held the ropes to beat her and cheat. And did you guys catch Mitch's sister in the audience with that look on her face? Yeah, definitely Mitch's sister. So it feels like they're trying to tell a story here of Liv having Becky's number being fucked over repeatedly, and they might do a deal where, maybe they'd even do one more match, and Becky is like, okay, this is your last chance. If you don't beat me, you can't get a title shot. And then Becky cheats and wins again, and then Liv Morgan wins the Rumble. But then you got all the way until WrestleMania to build that. I don't know. So I think Liv Morgan would be fun. I think the fans would like her. She's the only one on my radar right now, at least for the women, other than perhaps if WWE really wanted to pull the trigger quickly on Xia Li. She had her very electrifying debut last night on SmackDown. I feel like she could be the successor to Asuka, in terms of just being that badass, okay, I'm a little bit scared of that chick type of wrestler they've got. And she can maybe fill that void that Asuka, and maybe even that Asuka's leaving with her not being there right now. And even when Asuka comes back, maybe even having some sort of a torch passing match between the two where Xia Li beats Asuka pretty handily and becomes, the new HBIC. You know what I mean? So maybe her. In terms of the men though, fuck. I don't want to see it be Brock. I don't want to see a schmaz finish or something weird on day one. that makes Brock need to win the Rumble to get the title shot at WrestleMania. I think maybe you can just do it some other way. Aside from Brock, right now, shit, I don't know, man. I haven't even really given it much thought. Just got to think of who's going to be. I mean, Big E. You know what? Kofi. Because we're never going to split the New Day up. I never want that. But if Kofi wins the Rumble, you know, I know he gets to challenge anybody that he wants. You would think he would challenge Roman. But let's say Roman has already got his title match figured out against Brock. Or maybe Brock could beat Roman at day one, become the new champion. Kofi wins the Rumble, and we got a Brock and Kofi rematch. And this time Kofi beats Brock in 5 seconds. No, that's not going to happen. But I think Kofi would be fun. Big E and Kofi, WrestleMania. It's not going to be the main event, you know, because I think whatever Roman Reigns does is going to be the main event of night 2 anyway. So night 1 will be Big E's match, and I think Kofi winning the Rumble is a good idea. So yeah, Kofi. There you go. Joshua Aparicio, thank you for the 5. Hey, Greg, imagine Hook versus Dominic Mysterio 5 years from now. That will be a pretty good match because Dominic is very athletic. He's got a lot of his dad in him, much like Hook has got a lot of his dad in him too. So yeah, 5 years from now, that could be fun. Throw that Gage Goldberg in there and we can have a little birthday party at the bowling alley. Should be a lot of fun. Spaz is back. Thanks, dude. 10 more from you. I'll admit I'm biased because Naomi isn't my favorite star, but WWE are wasting 4 other deserving stars for this Naomi push. Sonya, Shayna, Natty, and now they sacrificed Xia Li's debut. I was surprised they brought her back last night the way they did. That's for sure, Spaz. So we'll be talking about that in a minute. I thought the entrance and the presentation and everything leading up to this was cool, but I kind of just thought in my head that Xia Li would debut just in a squash and beat the shit out of somebody. That's all I thought. So she came back to help Naomi, which is weird. Yeah, I don't think Asuka retired, but I don't know where she is. That's for sure. Oh, Barry, good suggestion. I completely forgot about Bayley. How can I forget about Bayley? But if she's ready to go, when did she get injured? How many months has it been now? When she's ready to go, coming back at the Rumble and winning would be awesome. Yeah, I'd be into that. Bayley, forgot all about her. Anyway, good suggestion there. Let's get into WWE Raw from this past week. We just talked about that. Becky Lynch beat Liv Morgan in that title match to cheat and win. The story with Liv is not over. I thought it would have been cool if they actually pulled the trigger on Liv last week. I'm cool with them not doing it, but hopefully it's just not something that evaporates into nothing and ultimately means nothing for the career of Liv Morgan. Hopefully this is going somewhere and, she actually does get her day down the road. And same goes for Bianca Belair. Raw, by the way, drew a $1.5 million this past week, and apparently Lashley laid out all of the contenders in the 3-way main event at day 1. So sounds like they might be bumping this thing up to a fatal 4-way and stick Lashley in there. And day 1 could be the last day in the company for Kevin Owens as well. I really hope that it is. No word, at least from what I've seen, about his contract specifically or any proof or any confirmation of anything regarding his contract. But if it is over at the end of the year and he signed on to do one more day, just like Gargano and Adam Cole did, then this could be it. And Seth and Big E and Bobby Lashley could beat the hell out of Kevin Owens and send him right out of the WWE, like we would see Von Wagner and Grayson Waller do on NXT with 2 other guys. Okay, July was on that. Yeah, it feels like that's too soon. You're right. Randy's right. I wasn't sure when the injury took place, but yeah, if you got an ACL tear, that ain't something you're rushing back by January, although it is the end of January. I believe the Royal Rumble is way at the end of the month. So still, though, that I feel like that would be a bit early. You would never see a pro athlete come back before then. So yeah, Randy's probably right on that. I think Bayley is a long shot. So right now, I'm going to go Sister Morgan to win that thing. Let's talk about NXT this past Tuesday. Of course, this was the fallout from NXT War Games this past Sunday, which we all watched together, which I thought was a great show. I mean, despite NXT 2.0 being nothing like, the black and gold brand, I didn't think these War Games matches were going to be pretty good or very good, but they were. The women's match was very good, and the men's match was incredible. Those 2.0 guys showed that they're for real, and I thought really set themselves up well to push NXT into the future type of thing. So I thought War Games was a fun show, and it was fun to watch it with all of you guys, but there was a lot of speculation during that show about the futures of Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly. Now, Kyle O'Reilly, of course, was in that tag match with Von Wagner. They fell short of winning the tags and of the tag titles there. And then after the match, Von Wagner went to turn on Kyle O'Reilly, but he saw it coming, laid out Von Wagner. And we said right here in the watch along, I'm like, what we just saw there is going to lead to a challenge on Tuesday between the two. And Wagner's going to beat O'Reilly and he's going to be done. Literally a half an hour later, O'Reilly's interviewed backstage and he officially lays down the challenge to Wagner for Tuesday. They had this match inside of a cage. Wagner beat him with his finish right in the middle of the ring and then hung him upside down in the corner by the door, stepped outside the cage and slammed the door right on the face of Kyle O'Reilly. Kind of a little symbolism there of maybe just slamming the NXT door on O'Reilly and wasting him. And that's the end of O'Reilly. He just put over this next big guy on his way out, and I loved it. And they wrapped things up that night with Johnny Gargano coming out to address the crowd. They even gave him a little bit of an overrun to run past the show, which was really nice, and allowed him to say pretty much whatever he wanted. And he thanked the NXT fans and the NXT staff, talked about his many years there and how much he loved it and appreciated it and was very gracious. And goes on to talk about how unsure he is of his future. He might do some things here or there, but he says in February, he will start the most important job of his life. That's because Candice LeRae is pregnant and she's due in February. So he will be a dad in February, which makes you kind of understand why re-signing his contract was probably not going to happen, because there really isn't much for him to do anymore in NXT. They probably would have moved him to the main roster. And, that's just not where you want to be for not only your career and your creative, but for your family, because you're on the road all the fucking time. So if he now is a free agent, he can go work the indies and work at his own schedule and his own pace and work when he wants. Or he could sign with AEW, who has a much easier travel schedule than WWE's main roster does. And it would be a very, very attractive schedule to work, especially if you're a new dad. So, really excited to see where he turns up. It is possible we see him as early as this Wednesday. Or maybe he chills out. I mean, if you've been wrestling like Johnny Gargano, I might take 6 months off, watch my kid being born, spend some time at home, rest up some nagging injuries, and allow me to be at home with my kid for a couple of months as he grows a little bit. And then maybe in the summertime, get back into wrestling, sign with AEW, or maybe even back to WWE. Who knows? But he's out of there, and like I said earlier, he has already launched his Pro Wrestling Tees store and his Twitch channel. So all that stuff is available for Johnny. We wish him the best. Like I said, I sent him a DM yesterday, and he responded, thanking me for the kind words and whatnot. We love Johnny Wrestling here on the channel and wish him the best. Now, during his speech, he gets to the end of it, and you knew something was going on, but it's out of frame. The crowd starts making a shit ton of noise, and from behind, he's nailed with a chair by Grayson Waller. So at first you're like, oh shit, maybe he's not leaving. He's starting a program with this guy. But, really it was just an attack. He beat the hell out of Gargano, threw him on the outside of the ring. Then he placed the chair on his neck and rammed him into the steel post, and Gargano sells it like $1 million. And then Waller picks him up and power bombs Johnny Wrestling through the announce table and lays him out. And that's pretty much how the show goes off the air. Now, after it was off the air, a lot of videos have surfaced of Tommaso Ciampa coming out to the ring, sitting in the ring with Johnny Gargano, saying a few things on the mic. It was definitely his send-off. Kyle O'Reilly came down to join and was beaten on the outside of the ring, and then he actually got in the ring and just rolled. You know how Big E would roll down the ramp? He just rolled over next to him, and the three of them kind of shared a hug. Shawn Michaels came out to the stage and kind of hugged his two kids, Kyle O'Reilly and Johnny Gargano. He looked like a proud dad. And to me, that was the most touching part of the whole thing, because Shawn Michaels, I grew up with his whole career, and I'm an old man. I remember Shawn from his very first days in AWA all the way through WWE and all the years of him being a douchebag and the screw job and the click, and then coming back and having that glorious run from 2002 to 2010 when he retired, and all the different chapters his life has gone through. And when you think about Shawn, who at one time was the most self-centered, selfish, egotistical, I don't give a fuck about anybody else but myself prick you could ever fathom on this planet. He was the biggest one of all of them. To see him turn into this guy who seems to be dedicating his life to grooming and teaching and coaching the talent of the future, and to see him be so proud of them, like an old man, like a grandpa looking at his grandkids, is a very touching thing for a wrestling fan like me to see, especially knowing who Shawn used to be. So that was just all very touching. It's so nice to see that at the end of the day, this is a business. There should never be any hard feelings if somebody jumps ship. Now back in the day, if you do something shady like Lex Luger did, or you leave in the middle of the night, or you do something to fuck over the company in some way, then yeah, there deserves to be some pretty hard feelings there. But if your contract is up and you're choosing to go somewhere else that makes you happy or is better for your family or your own personal life or your mental health or whatever, and the other side has the audacity to fucking be bitter at you towards that, fuck you. So I don't think that's the case with Gargano or O'Reilly in WWE. I think much like Adam Cole, they left on the best of terms, just like Daniel Bryan. There's no bad feelings. There's no bad blood with any of these guys. And there's not going to be any bad feelings or bad blood when Kevin Owens leaves either. These guys were all treated very well by WWE, but I think they also know where their careers are going to go if they stay there. So, hey, thanks. It's been real, but I'm going to go play with my friends now, if that's okay. Yeah, of course it's okay. So just to see Shawn give them that farewell, and to see these guys put guys over on the way out, with O'Reilly going down to Wagner right in the middle in the cage, and Gargano basically just been beaten right out of NXT, is a good way to go out. And it was a pretty good episode of NXT on Tuesday, and it was definitely the end of an era. You still got Tommaso Ciampa there. I don't know if Samoa Joe's ever going to turn back up there. Probably not. Other than Gargano and maybe a couple of others, I mean, who really is there left, from those glory days of NXT, that core group and stuff. So it's pretty sad. But anyway, excited to see the future for Gargano and O'Reilly. We'll mention a little bit about Dynamite as well. By the way, NXT this week pulled in a pretty low rating of 590,000. I don't know if I mentioned Raw ratings at 1.59 million. SmackDown did a pretty good number last night. And AEW Dynamite this past week was under a million again, 872,000 with a 0.33 share in the demo. So not a great number for Dynamite this week. Pretty fun show, though. We watched this together. CM Punk came out and cut a heel promo on that Long Island crowd, and they were just shitting on him to the point where, I feel like it rattled him a little bit, and he might have just been double downing on that Islanders talk just because he didn't have anything else or whatever. So far, CM Punk hasn't had the greatest performances on the mic in the eyes of some. I still think the Punk and MJF stuff is a lot of fun. MJF was super over in his hometown here, and when he came out, it was the first time that I've noticed any sort of, and maybe prior to AEW, MLW stuff, you might catch glimpses of this, but I've never seen any real emotion from Maxwell Jacob Friedman in my life than when he came out to the stage and he heard that ovation. You saw it. It was there. He kind of took a deep breath and he got a little choked up there for a minute. I'm like, I caught that. You are a real person in there. I knew it. But that was all a lot of fun. So that shit on Wednesday was good with Punk and MJF. Don't know when that match is going to be set for. Doesn't look like it's coming on Wednesday. Should be down the road, and it'll be a lot of fun. MJF is actually fighting Dante Martin for the Diamond, I believe, this next Wednesday around Winter is coming anyway. So Punk and MJF is coming up down the road. That should be fun. We also saw Cody approach Sammy Guevara and lay down a challenge for the TNT Championship. Sammy Guevara has accepted. That match is coming up on the horizon, so Cody might become a 3-time TNT champion. I don't want that. And we also had the return of Trent, who's been out with spinal fusion surgery for quite a while. And we saw the deal where Sue returned in the van on Wednesday. We knew who was in that van, and he came out looking great, looked pretty jacked. Finally, chopped his hair off, which I'm glad he did that. Welcome to the club, Trent, although you still have a little bit more than me. And as we saw last night, too, you know, they might even be teasing some sort of a turn here for Trent, which I'm not sure, or a split from the Best Friends, which I'm not sure if I want to see. I like Trent and everything, but I think he's a guy that's better off with the Best Friends than without. As a single star, how is he going to achieve any more success than someone like a Shawn Spears or, you know, someone like that? You know, I think he's almost going to get more exposure if he just stays with the Best Friends, because they had some great wars before he got hurt, you know, with Proud and Powerful and a lot of other guys. So we'll see what the future holds for Trent. We'll talk about him again in a minute when we talk about Rampage. So last night's Rampage, that's what we got to get into now. I'm ready for that. You guys have been sitting here this whole time throughout this podcast waiting for me to talk about Hook. So let's finally do that. If you want me to talk about Hook, you're going to have to hit that like button a couple of more times. I would appreciate it. But last night's Rampage was a pretty good show. 4 matches they crammed in to this hour-long show, including an AEW title match that opened up the show with the Lucha Brothers defending against FTR. Now, of course, this show was taped. We knew we weren't going to get a title change here, number one, because if we did, we would have heard about it. And number two, this match is opening Rampage. I feel like if there was going to be a title change here, this should have been the main event. This should have been the feature match at Rampage that they built up for maybe 2 weeks on TV. But this was kind of put together pretty quick. But that doesn't change the fact that it was going to be a great match. We knew it was. It was amazingly fun. Match was all over the place. Lucha Brothers hit the Fear Factor on Cash to retain the AEW Tag Team titles. And I'm never going to complain about these two teams working together. And I feel like now, based on that match and finish and everything they've done with each other up to this point, I feel like their issue's dead. And both teams should go do something else. In a not-so-great moment last night on Rampage, terrible 6-woman match with Penelope Ford, The Bunny, and Nyla Rose defeating Anna Jay, Ty Conti, and Ruby Soho. All I'm going to say is that was not great. But the big news of Rampage, of course, was, I believe, the third match on the card, Hook taking on Fuego del Sol. We've all been looking forward to this. Send Hook. He arrived Friday at 10 p.m. He comes out, great-looking entrance. I have no idea who Action Bronson is, but apparently that's who does his theme song. Kid's just got a great vibe, cocky look to him, little pussy magnet, this kid. And he's just chewing gum, and he's just got this natural, heelish vibe that I think is going to benefit him very well in wrestling. I have had a lot of fun with the Hook hype all week long, ever since Punk said the send Hook, and a lot of people have just been seeing Hook in the background of Team Taz. We've all wanted to get a better look at the kid. Plus, he's Taz's son. He's been working extensively in the ring, you know, with QT Marshall and a lot of other guys, and he's been basically training to get into wrestling here, and we've been waiting for his debut, and last night was the night. So I think the fans had a good time with the Hook hype, with the send Hook, with yesterday being Hook Day. I loved it. Of course, there's a few negative Nancys on social media that somehow find it annoying that people are just having a little bit of fun with the Hook stuff. Man, I don't understand all the Hook hype. It's really annoying. And, you know, it's just like, can you just have some fun? Don't you understand that that's what makes it fun, is the absurdity of it, is the fact that the entire wrestling world is talking about this kid Hook without even seeing him wrestle one match? It's kind of fun. Even I put up a tweet yesterday with a little Photoshop of Amazon saying that Hook has been sent and he's arriving today at 10 o'clock. It's fun. We're just having a good time. You know, and to see some fans complain about this just because they're friendless and no fun little ass bags who are just irrationally jealous about everything and wouldn't know a good time if it stood right between them and the 9 windows of Asian porn they have pulled up. I mean, fuck, man. You know, just take it easy. It's not only, I find it just dripping with irony that wrestling fans take wrestling so seriously. Wrestling, a form of entertainment that's specifically meant to not be taken seriously, and fans take it more serious than anything, to where everything bothers them. They don't know how to have fun. They don't know that this is all just kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff. We're just having a good time hyping up Hook. What is the fucking harm in that? Have you been hugged? Have you touched grass? Have you smelled fresh air? Try it. I'm begging you, wrestling fans, because you're pathetic. And when you whine and bitch about shit like this, number one, it makes me laugh, but at the same time, it almost makes me wonder, what kind of a fucking social life do you have? Have some fun. It ain't gonna kill you. I promise. I want the Hook hype to continue. I love the little fucking twerp. He looked good. Like I said, his entrance, his vibe, his demeanor, he looked very comfortable out there. And the match was pretty good. Fuego del Sol was the perfect opponent to put him with because you knew Hook was going to murder him. But Hook was very smooth, displaying a lot of submissions and a lot of good mat wrestling there. You can tell he's been taught well. And, he had some interesting chops. I found his chops to be interesting, but pretty decent punches and a good headbutt that he delivered to Fuego del Sol. And like I said, a lot of really good mat wrestling. Now in the end, a few minutes go by and Fuego del Sol taps out to the Kata Hajime, the old Taz mission that Hook is going to use as his finisher. Mwah! Couldn't have asked for a better finish than that. I kind of thought that he might use that as his finish, but I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to hit all the same suplexes that his dad hit and that type of thing and what his style was going to be, because they did announce him at 200 pounds, which is horseshit. So in terms of him being able to really muscle guys down submission style like Taz did, that's going to be tougher. But in terms of he kind of has this like UFC type of look to him to where he can probably fucking fight and scrap a little bit. So I thought Hook's debut couldn't have gone better, because as fun as we were having with the whole Hook hype, there was a part of me that was hoping that the kid would deliver and he wouldn't go out there looking like shit. I think if the match was terrible, we would have gotten wind of that because it was taped, I believe, on Wednesday night. People probably would have said, yeah, Hook wrestled and it wasn't good. We might have gotten wind of that, but I was ready to see him in there finally after all this time, and I think they might have just found a little diamond in the rough here. We'll see. He's still very young, still plenty of time to suck or not be good or whatever, but at least from the first day, what I've seen, I'm all aboard the Hook hype train. I think they found themselves a good one here. And again, you don't have to put the title on this guy tomorrow or anything like that, but just start building him up, let him work, get some matches under his belt. He could be an attraction on Dark and Elevation. If there's going to be a Hook match, I think all those girls are going to make sure they're going to get to their seat on time. Hell yeah. Just like when I'm up here on YouTube, they all make sure they're front and center. You know what I mean? But yeah, Hook is here. He's going to get better. We'll watch him develop, and it should be fun. Now, I do want to read you too a article or a post from Fightful Select with a little bit of more information on Hook. So they say, we have info on Hook. And I quote, Hook, the son of Taz, made an impressive debut on Rampage tonight, and we've learned some more details about his process of joining the wrestling scene. We're told it didn't appear originally if Hook would get into wrestling despite knowing plenty about it and respecting the business. Based on those we spoke with, it became evident during his first training session he was going to get it. Hook has been training nonstop with Creative Pro Wrestling as well as QT Marshall and had a lot of early help from MJF. Those that we spoke to on the AEW roster hyped him up to Fightful in the recent weeks before his debut and followed up by saying they were ecstatic about how his debut went. So sounds like AEW is very pleased with it. Sounds like they've been contributing a little bit to the Hook fun, and the fact that he got in there and had a good outing is very promising for his future, and it doesn't look like they rushed anything with him. He's been working for a long time. Even Cody talked about working with Hook on TV months ago, or maybe a year ago, or whenever it was, but getting all that knowledge from QT and MJF and a lot of other people he's probably worked with at Creative Pro Wrestling. Kid's got some moves, and kid's got some potential there, and his dad wasn't half bad when he was in the ring either back in his day. So good stuff there from Hook. That made me so happy. What also made me happy was the beatdown that Darby and Sting suffered at the hands of FTR when Shivani is trying to interview them. Now, Tully wound up like nut-shotting Sting, and it feels like this is kind of the tease, I think they even brought it up here, for the Dynamite coming up on December 22nd in Greensboro, at the Greensboro Coliseum, a building I've been to more times than I can even count, but also a building that has a ton of wrestling history, especially NWA and WCW history. Sting fucking wrestled Flair for the title in that building, like when he was first getting big, so I think we could see Sting wrestle a match in the Greensboro Coliseum on December 22nd, and that match could be against Tully fucking Blanchard. It's very possible. I think it would be best if we had this thing in a tag match. If Sting and Darby can find a partner, it would be cool to see Sting, Darby, and partner versus Tully and FTR. Hell, the partner could even be a mystery guy, but I don't want the mystery guy to take away from the fact that we might actually see Tully, Blanchard, and Sting in the ring in the Greensboro Coliseum in 2021, nearly 2022. That's incredible. So it feels like they're planting a seed for something there. But the fact that I think they're going to hit Charlotte as well, I think, AEW. I forgot the calendar, but makes me wish that I lived still in North Carolina, because I would definitely go to that Dynamite, and I'm ready to go to one when they hit the West Coast. And the main event of Rampage last night was Adam Cole defeating Wheeler Yuta. This entire match basically was booked to set up the eventual upcoming match between Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy. Cassidy was at ringside backing up Wheeler Yuta along with Trent, who was there as well, and Chucky T. Adam wins the match pretty easily with the boom. A couple times during the match, stare downs with Orange Cassidy. And after the match, we get the stare down of all the friends, the best friends on one side and Cole and the Bucks on the other. But Bobby Fish shows up at ringside and yanks out, I think it's Trent. He pulls him out of the ring and beats his ass on the outside, allowing the Bucks and Cole to get the advantage on the rest of the best friends and leave them all laying. Now, there has been a little bit of teasing here, like I said earlier, that maybe now that Trent's back, they want to move him away from the best friends. I advised against that. You know, Trent wants to give his singles run a shot. Good for him. We like Trent a lot, but you got to think about the way that roster is looking right now. Where is Trent's place on that roster as a singles when you think about so many great wrestlers that are there already and a whole another big batch of great ones probably about to come in? So I feel like Trent staying where he is, at least for right now, is probably, you know, the best, unless they want to go full-blown heel with him and, you know, maybe stick him in another faction or whatnot. But I don't know what he has to offer on the main roster, considering how much good singles talent there already is there. So we'll see where that goes. But if I'm booking things, I'm keeping Trent with the best friends right now. And Winter is Coming, of course, is this coming Wednesday. I only have 3 matches for this. You guys help me out if I'm missing anything here. Of course, we've got the AEW World title on the line. Hangman Page defending against Bryan Danielson. Like I've said many times before leading up to this match, what I want to see is a buckshot lariat right in the middle with Danielson being cleaned, you know, or pinned clean, like super duper squeaky, sparkling clean right in the middle. That will establish Hangman, you know, as a very, very strong, credible champion. He needs wins like this under his belt if you want to make him a star. If you want to make Hangman Page the Randy Orton of your roster, you got to start somewhere, and having a good, solid first title run, knocking off a lot of quality opponents is a good way to do that. So I am rooting for him all the way. We also have the Dynamite Diamond Ring match. The final 2 of the Battle Royal last week was Dante Martin and MJF. They will battle one-on-one for the ring. You got to wonder if Punk is going to cost Maxwell the ring, and Dante's going to have the ring. Maybe he'll give it to Leo Rush to wear. I don't know. Dante and Leo, of course, too, we found out in the Battle Royal, which we expected, that they were just taking Team Taz for a ride there. We knew that segment when Dante signed the contract was weird and probably not legit. So Dante and Leo are back on the same page here, and maybe Dante will have a little bling when this match is over, unless MJF finds a way to escape again with that thing. But I think Punk might play a role there. And we also have a really solid one-on-one match between Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb. I got to give credit to AEW for doing something that WWE never does. Or actually, they are kind of doing that right now with Sonya and Naomi, but it's really hard to ever really find true women's feuds, you know, and issues in WWE that don't involve the title. And here with Hikaru Shida and Serena Deeb, they've had some wars, you know, and even with Shida falling short in that 50th win try against Serena and then beating her in the tournament. Now we kind of got the rubber match here, but I'm pretty sure they've already worked, you know, a year or so ago prior in AEW as well. So I really like their rivalry here, and that should be a fun match. The last time they worked together, it was spectacular. So, and Serena Deeb, honestly, I mean, other than Britt, I think is my favorite woman on the roster right now in AEW. I love her. So looking forward to that match. I guess all we really have left to talk about is SmackDown here. Let me cruise to the chat, see if there's anything else I need to mention. A couple more super chats rolling in, and then we'll just briefly run through what we saw last night on SmackDown, and then I got to get out of here and go do that work thing of mine. Where are they? Hook is only 22. Damn. That is crazy. Dan Price, good to see you, my friend. Hey, you know what? In 2022, I might be looking for some more logos. So if you want to hit me up with an email, maybe we'll talk. Changing some stuff. But where did the super dupers go? Zane, there we go. Zane and Spaz, I missed you guys. All right, Spaz, I got your 10-1 from earlier. There's 5 more. Who gets the bigger return pop as the number 30th entrant in the Rumble? Alexa, Asuka, or Bayley? Good question. I think Bayley would get the biggest pop. I think Asuka would get the second biggest pop and Alexa the third. That's how I'd rank them. But yeah, I'm with Randy from earlier. I'm not feeling Bayley. I mean, who knows? Everybody heals differently. It's just when you have an injury like that, even if you are ready to go, I don't think they want to rush anything, with her. So I don't know if she'll make it back for the Rumble or not. But yeah, I'd go Bayley on that. She'll get a big pop, huge pop, and definitely a big pop from Barry because Bayley is Barry's jam. I understand what it's like to like someone like that, Barry. I have a Bayley too. His name's Bret Hart. Zane G, thank you very much for the $10. The draft is crap and is no use. No lies detected, because I was at SmackDown last night with the dark match being Belair, Banks, Lynch, and Charlotte, with Banks winning the match. Yeah, well, the dark matches kind of don't count, but I do think they loaded up the show because they were in LA. Zane, I'm sorry I wasn't there. I would have gone if WWE doesn't suck. I could have made the trip up to formerly Staples Center. Oh, how that stabs my heart. They tore the fucking Staples sign off there. Now it's Crypto.com Arena. That's going to get tough to get used to. I mean, I'm all about crypto and everything, but shit, I'm used to calling it the Staples Center. I don't like change, and whenever I go back to it, I'm still going to call it the Staples Center. But it was a show there, so they were going to bring in some more talent, but well, like we saw, and we're going to talk about here in a minute with that, who's the best tag team in WWE shit. And I'm like, they don't give a shit. It just blows my mind how they make such a big deal about their draft and they will just fucking do this shit. And an exact quote from Michael Cole just a couple of weeks ago at SmackDown at Survivor Series. Welcome to Survivor Series, the one night a year where Raw competitors go head to head with SmackDown competitors. Exact quote from Michael Cole 2 weeks ago at Survivor Series. My God. So, yeah, the draft is crap for a lot of reasons, Zane. That's just one of them. And thank you, man, for the $10. And sorry I didn't get a chance to meet you. But next AEW show in LA or WrestleMania 39, if you want to meet up, we will do that. WWE needs to end the brand split. I agree. Let's talk about SmackDown from last night, shall we? Like I said, SmackDown emanated from the former Staples Center here in LA. We got a rating on last night's show that was up pretty good. I didn't catch the Rampage's rating. I don't think it did too high, but SmackDown did pretty good, 2.17 million. Now, Raj Giri has suggested that the number is even higher than that at about a 2.35, which is a really good number as well. That's a lot more than Raw. Shit. So SmackDown did pretty well last night. Show opened up with Sami Zayn coming out in a wheelchair with 2 nurses who were clearly NXT developmental talents because they're 2 jacked dudes. Not typical nurses. Yes, nurses, plenty of nurses are men, but no, you don't find 2 bodybuilding men nurses in the same place very often. So don't know where Sami picked them up. So as soon as you saw those good dudes wheeling Sami out there, you knew Brock was going to fuck them up. Because if they wouldn't be out, they wouldn't be jacked up dudes if they weren't planning on taking bumps. You know what I mean? So they kind of gave it away. I'm like, can you make these guys, can you get some smaller people from NXT or from developmental? Do you have to bring 2 of the most jacked guys you have? Try to at least make it look like they're real. Because you can always spot a bullshit security guard because they're all jacked up and they got a funny haircut. So, you know they're developmental talent. So I just thought that was absurd that they had those 2 guys pretend to be nurses. You can get 2 wrestlers to take bumps, just make them a little bit smaller. But I guess they just wanted to display how strong Brock Lesnar is. So anyway, he's out in the ring now. He's in his wheelchair and he's claiming that he's going to sue WWE. He's going to sue anybody involved who screwed him out of his championship match last week, which was really Brock Lesnar who kicked his ass, and then Roman just picked up the bones there. So Paul Heyman comes out. Roman Reigns is not on the show this week because he is training in Samoa, according to Heyman. And Heyman starts running down Sami Zayn, and Sami then starts to threaten Paul Heyman, and that's when Brock Lesnar comes out. So Brock comes out, he sits in a chair, and he's talking to Sami. He asks Sami where he's from. He goes, "You're Canadian, where are you from?" And Sami's like, "Montreal," and Brock speaks a little bit of French to him, and then says that he would like to invite Sami up to Saskatchewan to go hunting, and was talking about this big moose up there that he can shoot and kill and eat and all of that. And Brock would later on tell Adam Pearce how much he enjoyed moose meat as well. So when it comes to phrases that I could potentially hear on an episode of SmackDown, I like moose meat is like way down on my list. So I got a huge kick out of how much Brock enjoys the moose meat. So Brock is just having a good time with Sami Zayn. Paul Heyman gets mad about this. And he says that he's watching two Canadian besties going moose hunting instead of watching Sami take a trip to Suplex City. And the old Brock would have already annihilated this guy by now. So Brock responds by beating the shit out of the nurses and Sami, just like Paul Heyman said. And again, kind of fueling speculation from Brock anyway, that Heyman and Brock are in cahoots just to paranoid Roman Reigns. And Brock would, I think it was Brock said something to Kayla backstage after that. They kind of alluded to that. He called Heyman his advocate. So Brock is playing mind games here with Roman, and it's working. Later on, he would hunt down Adam Pearce to talk about that fine that he gave him and all of that, and tries to show him a photo of a moose he killed and how he gutted it and cleaned it and trimmed it and ate it. So he's just intimidating Adam Pearce, which was pretty funny. We also had a little presentation backstage with Kofi Kingston gifting and presenting Xavier Woods with his brand new crown because the other one got smashed. So we had a very distinguished panel of guests for this, including Drew Gulak, Mansoor, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders. All of those guys were there to witness Kofi bestowing upon Xavier a new crown for his head, which I think was made from unicorns. It's made from bits of real unicorns, so you know it's good. Happy Xavier got a new crown, I guess. Good, meaty men slap and meat match between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. Pretty fun match here. This one I actually enjoyed. McIntyre did win with a Claymore. Now, backstage, earlier on, he approached Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce has been having a rough night and tells Pearce, or I guess accuses Pearce of being the reason that he wasn't included in that Black Friday Battle Royal a couple weeks ago. And then takes his sword, it's so fucking dumb, takes his sword and stabs it through the desk. Now, I didn't watch my DVR version of SmackDown. I watched the YouTube clip of this segment. And I swear to you, when McIntyre slams that sword down, you hear the same sound effect that begins his music. That fshing or whatever it is, it does the same thing. Go watch the YouTube clip. You'll laugh your ass off. I'm like, do these motherfuckers actually think we don't notice these edits? And also I noticed when Gargano got attacked by Grayson Waller, just really, really noticeable piped in boos to where it was like embarrassing. That's not a very big crowd in NXT. And the boos that were piped in made it sound like it was a packed WrestleMania house going nuts, booing their asses off for Grayson Waller beating the hell out of Gargano. Just fucking ridiculous. So the sword segment cracked me up with Adam Pearce. And later on, they're like trying to get it out like Sword in the Stone. So fucking stupid. Then we get one of those lovely championship contenders matches. These are great. A lot of issues lately between Charlotte and Toni Storm. They've taken turns cream pieing each other. And now we've got a contenders match, number one contenders match, or no, championship contenders match. Jesus. Usually these mean if the challenger wins, they get an upcoming championship match in the future. So match takes place. Charlotte gets DQ'd after repeatedly stomping Toni Storm's head into the ring post, kind of on the outside of the ring. Toni's leaned up against it. Charlotte's on the apron, and she's just kicking the shit out of her on purpose. Referee DQs her. Charlotte doesn't even seem to care. Brings Toni back in the ring, hits her with a big boot, and then just kicks dirt on her and walks away. So since Toni Storm won via DQ, I'm assuming this now means we get Charlotte versus Toni probably at day one. So that match, I'm sure, has been set, or it will be set next week. And then we were also supposed to get the return to the ring of Sonya Deville. Now, they've already teased this Naomi and Sonya match once before, and it didn't happen. This time, it looks like it's actually gonna. Sonya is actually out there in gear this time, ready to wrestle. Looks a little bit different. I thought Sonya looked so good with this new look. We haven't seen her really in the ring in a while. And we also knew she was going to do some shitty shit to Naomi. And she basically played the role of Vince McMahon at Over the Edge 1998. When he brought out Briscoe and Patterson, all his friends, to do various jobs. Sonya has got Shayna Baszler out there to be the timekeeper and Natalya to be the ring announcer. So she's got friends out there. Naomi comes out to the ring, but she's got an uphill battle here. The three of them surround Naomi, and she's about to get her get her ass kicked until Xia Li makes her debut. Lights go down. She starts making her entrance, and they've got these crazy like lightning effects where it's like actually following her. It just looks like a fucking TikTok filter or something. And it's a very cool looking entrance, very expensive looking entrance, which matches, what they've been doing with her leading up to her debut with all of those really well done looking vignettes and comic book style and stuff. So she makes her debut. She comes electrifying down there. Now it's funny because I guess they're trying to play this off like you see the lightning in the crowd. There's no way you do. But all the women in the ring, Natalya and Sonya and Shayna, were selling it like $1 million. They're like, holy shit. She's got lightning coming out of her head or whatever. So I don't know how long they're really going to be able to pull this off, that it's actually happening, but it was a cool looking effect. And she came in the ring and basically just helped Naomi beat the shit out of those three, and they retreated while Naomi and Xia Li stood strong in the ring. So many people don't think that was that effective of a debut for Xia Li. Seems like she should have been the focus of a debut rather than coming out and being a part of an already existing storyline. I kind of agree with that take, that I think Xia Li should have debuted on her own and just squashed somebody. That's it. Now she's already making alliances with people and stuff. I think it's a bit too early for that, and I would have debuted her differently. But the debut itself did look pretty cool with the entrance and whatnot, and I really like Xia Li. She is a boss. Just really tough, badass chick. So I really want her to do well on the main roster, but we will see. And of course, the main event of SmackDown, ridiculous three-way tag team match between The New Day, The Usos, and RK Bro. It was basically a match to determine who the best team in WWE is, the best tag team anyway. And so much for your draft. I'm like, Jesus, when they advertise this match, I'm like, you guys are just so pathetic. They don't even try. They just do things without any explanation. They make such a big deal about, when you're drafted to this brand, you're never going to see anybody else on the other brand again. These people can just trade. There's no reason to even have a brand split. It's so pointless. It's so useless. Now, backstage, they did do a little funny skit with RK Bro and the Jackass guys. Jackass Forever or Jackass 4 is about to come out. They've filmed that. Few new faces out there. The only ones I recognized were Johnny Knoxville, Party Boy, Dave England, and Jeff Tremaine, the director. A couple of other new guys have now joined since Bam Margera, I think, is gone from that. And, of course, Ryan Dunn passed away. And it should be interesting to see how these old men do on a fourth installment of a Jackass movie. I probably will see it. I like the Jackass guys. Those movies always had me cracking up. But, of course, Matt Riddle is having a great time with them talking. Johnny Knoxville performs some sort of a crotch move on Dave England. And then Riddle looks over to Randy and he goes, "Hey, Randy, you got anything to add or say?" And Randy's like, "No," and he just walks away. So we go out to the ring. We have the match. Pretty good three-way dance here with these tag teams. Nothing to complain about. Great teams. All 6 of these guys can go. And in the end, the team who I wanted to win won. The New Day beat both of them. That was pretty cool, and it was a pretty good day for Kofi and Xavier in SmackDown land, and they won the main event. So overall, not a bad show. Glad I didn't go to it. But again, bringing these Raw people in and just with no explanation, just because you're in a big market and you suck so bad that you can't rely on the talent you have there to be able to draw any interest, so you got to bring other people in. It's just weird. Anyway, that was your SmackDown in a nutshell. And I am finished up right on time. I literally have to get off air here in a minute, but let me cruise over here and see if there's anything else I need to knock out. Looks like a couple of super chats are heading in. Thank you, Zelius Ward, for that $4.99. Yo, good mic work. Hope you're doing well. I am, man. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well, too. Any thoughts for match of the year? It's Luchas and versus Young Bucks for me at All Out. Match was epic. without doing too much of a cop-out and thinking about it, that match is right near the top for me too. That was so much fun. I'd have to think about match of the year. I mean, I really did like Sasha and Bianca at Mania, I ain't going to lie. But there was something about that Luchas and Young Bucks match that was really good. Omega and Danielson was fun. I got to give it some thought, but I'm not necessarily against yours. I might have the same favorite match as you because that was a lot of fun. One of my favorite tag team title changes of all time was that match. And Zane G with 10 more. Thank you, man. I sent you an email regarding my experience at Staples last night. I ran into Ryan Satin and took a pic. Cool. But there was no announcement on the next live event in LA. Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to, maybe announce something to get some tickets out early for that. But nothing yet. Maybe if the next one is decent, I will be there. I know the next time I will definitely be in LA is for WrestleMania 39, but not sure the next time I will be up at what is now Crypto.com Arena. But that's fun, Zane. I'm glad you went. Glad you had a good time and got a chance to take some pictures as well. What's up, Will Rally Sport? Hey, Greg, I thought SmackDown was good. Loved Sami and Brock promos. Great together, really good. I prefer this Brock to old Brock. I do, too. I wasn't sure how a Paul Heyman-less babyface Brock would go. But for all the fans complaining, oh, it's so much Brock Lesnar, he's different now, just like Roman Reigns is different. These two guys are not who they were in 2016. Plain and simple. And Brock Lesnar out there in those fucking overalls and the flannel and the man bun and shit, and the chemistry that he has right now with Sami Zayn is just brilliant TV, and it's my favorite thing WWE is currently doing. You put Sami Zayn and Brock Lesnar in the ring, Greg is going to stay interested. That's for sure. So I want more of Sami and Brock and less of everything else, if at all possible. WWE, I would appreciate it. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here this afternoon. Thanks for hanging out on another fun podcast day. Hit that thumbs up button if I can fucking talk. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out the door, and don't forget to join us tomorrow night for WWE Armageddon 1999 watch along, the night that Stephanie turned heel and joined with Triple H. 22-year anniversary of that show tomorrow night. So we'll crack open some cold ones and watch some classic wrestling on the Peacock tomorrow night. So I will catch you then. You guys have a good rest of your Saturday afternoon and evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow.